This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We're honored to continue and share the teachings of the founding father of science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We're honored to continue and share the teachings of the founding father of science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We're honored to continue and share the teachings of the founding father of science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach.
Go.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Daily with Doc and Becca. My name is Becca Dukes, and I'm excited as today is one of our favorite days of the week, Pharmacist Fridays, and we have a good friend, a mentor, a truly trusted expert when it comes to health and nutrition, who also has that medical knowledge along pharmaceutical knowledge, Pharmacist Ben Fuchs. He is a straight talker, you know, he has lots of friends that are doctors. He doesn't think any of them are intentionally out to harm anybody. But folks, we don't know what we don't know. And today we are going to do questions and answers and also talk a little bit about what pharmaceuticals may do to the gut over time. So if you were invited to this program by somebody specific, make sure that you get back with them, as they are your number one contact. They cared enough about you, care enough about them to say thank you. And also, if you have any questions or want to get started on a better health journey, they are your contact. They're the person that's going to help you on this journey. Now, if you found this program all on your own, you have never spoken to anybody about our program or anything we talk about on this program, whether it's Pharmacist Ben, whether it's Dr. Wallach, whether it's longevity, we do have a call team specifically for you. But again, it's for people who have not talked to anybody about any of the things we talk about on this program. And you can call them at 855-949-3377. That is the Daily with Doc Certified Holistic Health Coach Hotline, 855-949-3377. Well, folks, This program is for educational purposes only. So I hope you have your pen, your paper ready to go, as we are going to be doing some education. And it's not to take the place of your primary care physician. So without further ado, let's bring to the screen, dear friend, Pharmacist Ben Fuchs. Pharmacist Ben, I'm kind of excited about doing questions and answers and also talking about the effects of pharmaceuticals on the gut. So I hope you're excited too.
I'm so excited. I can hardly stand it. Oh my God. I am like over the top with excitement. Hang on a second. Let me catch my breath. Let me catch my breath. Okay, I'm good. So, you know, I read this article. I subscribe to these medical journals, and I got this article, and it was actually written for physicians about their patients. And I didn't send it to you. It says drugs can reshape your patient's gut, sometimes for years. And I thought it was really interesting because, you know, everybody knows, pretty much everybody knows that drugs have side effects. That's common knowledge, right? But what we don't realize is there's hidden effects to taking prescription drugs. Yes, you take a prescription drug, it's a side effect. But as we've talked about before, when you take a prescription drug, your body has to mobilize and reroute nutrients to purify or detoxify that drug. There's a detoxification system in the body. Sometimes I'll say drugs are toxins and people get, oh my God, how can they say that? How can they? They're literally, because they're handled like a toxic substance. And the body has a whole detoxification biochemical system designed to break down and eliminate toxic material. Obviously, that's an important part of being able to survive. And for eons, most of the drugs we took were unintentional. Over the last 100 years, probably it's starting about 10,000 years ago or 8,000 years ago, and then at an accelerated pace over the last couple hundred years, we've intentionally taken toxins to, for whatever reason, suppress or block or inhibit some kind of symptom to mask something that's going wrong in the body. And we all know that there's side effects, but what we don't think about is that the body has to utilize and mobilize precious nutritional resources in order to eliminate that medication. And by the way, when you take a medication, you're taking an extra dose to account for that detoxification. So the dose you take is higher than the dose you need because they have to account for the body's purifying that substance. Call that first pass effect. That's a technical name for that. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Becca.
So that has something to do with when people ask, well, is the nutrition going to affect my pharmaceutical? And you've often said it's going to make it work better.
I've always said that, yes. But that's a little bit different, but that's a very good point. Yes, your nutrients will help your drugs work better, but that's a little bit different. And I like talking about that, so we can hang on to that question, okay? What I really want to point out is, A, there's a hidden cost to drugs in the sense that, and this is not going to show up in the side effects. So you take a drug and you get tired or you get nauseous or you get dizzy or whatever happens, skin reaction, et cetera. Those are called side effects or adverse reactions. What I'm talking about is completely different. I'm talking about deficiencies that will lead to their own effects. So for example, you take a medication and it costs you magnesium because magnesium is involved in detoxification. Say you take a heart medication. Magnesium is very important for the heart, right? And say you're deficient in magnesium and now you have arrhythmias, which can happen. So you take a beta blocker to slow down your heart. It gets processed in the liver. Magnesium, the little bit of magnesium that you have, you're already deficient. The little bit of magnesium that you have, which is important for your heart, the magnesium, is used to purify the beta blocker, which you're taking for your heart. And now you have even worse cardiovascular problems, or you have other toxicities, perhaps jitteriness or seizures or tremors or constipation or whatever magnesium deficiency you have, and you're not going to relate it to the drug because it's not a direct side effect of the drug. Follow what I'm saying? The classic example is statin drugs that cost you coenzyme Q10, which is important for the heart. So you take a statin drug, the statin drug suppresses your coenzyme Q10. Now you're deficient in coenzyme Q10, which is important for your heart, which you took the statin drug for in the first place. It's absurd when you think about it. And I know if you're confused, it's understandable. So on top of that, now we find that drugs affect the microbiome. Well, of course they do. When I talk about drugs being toxic, which they are, what do I mean? They're toxic to cells. They're not toxic to your collagen. They're not toxic to your skin, your stratum corneum. They're not toxic to your fingernails. They're not toxic to your hair. They're toxic to the cells, the only living part of the body. So when you have a toxicity, you're having a toxicity to the living part of the body, which is the cells. So you take a drug, which is well known to be, nobody argues, is toxic, meaning, even though we don't say it, this is what we mean, cyto, that means cell, cytotoxic, toxic to cells. Okay? We all know that. Everybody recognizes that. What are the bacteria in your intestine? They're cells. They're bacterial cells. So, of course, if you take a cell toxin, a cytotoxin, you're going to be killing off your microbiome. And we all, across the board, practically have dysbiosis, particularly if you're sick. And now you got more problems. And so the reason I thought this was important is because we've got this kind of airy-fairy idea. And I went on call. I did a call on Monday night on the podcast I do about GLP-1s, and some guy called up and said, "I love my GLP-1s. I've lost so much weight and my blood pressure dropped, blah, 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 blah." But he doesn't know that the drugs that he's taking are disturbing his microbiome, A, are costing him nutrients, B, and have their own spectrum or have their own list of toxicities and side effects that are individual to the GLP-1s he has. Bottom line, you can't take a prescription drug and not expect to have a biochemical reaction, biochemical response. That's what you're taking the drug for. They can't target your specific rash or your specific problem. It works globally. Contrast with nutrients, which work by helping the entire body. They help the entire system. So when you take your Healthy Start Pack for your blood pressure, you're going to have better skin. You're going to have better sleep. You're going to have better energy. You're going to have better connective tissue. You're going to have better cognitive functioning. You're going to have better eyesight. You're going to have better everything. It's a no-brainer except for one thing, or except for two things. One, it's not as dramatic for the most part. Unless you have a full-blown deficiency, it's not as potent or as powerful as a drug. But you don't want potent and powerful in terms of the body. You want gentle and smooth. And number two, our culture doesn't recognize it. By our culture, I mean our opinion leaders, opinion shapers, authorities, thought masters, the people who we respect in terms of health. And while Becca said, yes, I have a lot of physicians who are my friends, and this isn't about attacking physicians, it's about attacking the brain dead paradigm. Nothing exemplifies that brain dead paradigm than that thing that happened 5 years ago or 6 years ago, where everybody was told to do a certain thing, and now people are getting blood clots, and people are having blood toxicity, and people are having heart arrhythmias and heart disease, et cetera, which anybody could have told you, which we did tell you, if they understood how the body works. So as a pharmacist, nobody is better equipped to tell you that if you're on a prescription drug, chronic long-term, your number one health goal should be to figure out how to get off that drug. And if you are on a prescription drug, nutritional supplementation will A, mitigate, reduce the likelihood of toxicity or adverse reactions, and B, make your drug more effective so you can wean yourself off more efficiently. Make
Fantastic.
sense? Okay.
That makes total sense.
Yes. So if you're on a drug, just understand you're not going to you can't get around a potential problem, even if you don't see it, even if you don't notice it, because it's changing your chemistry. I'm sorry, you said, what was your question earlier about how drugs work better? How drugs make your nutrients, or how nutrients make your drugs work better? Just to give you one example, magnesium. Magnesium is a vasodilator, opens up blood vessels. You have high blood pressure, you take a beta blocker, which also opens up blood vessels. And you take magnesium now, your blood vessels are going to open up so effectively, you can now reduce your beta blocker. In fact, if you don't reduce your beta blocker, they may open up too much, because the magnesium's kind and gentle and respects the vasodilatory process. The beta blocker is not kind and gentle and just tells the vasodilation to happen. It orders the vasodilatory process. So by taking supplements, you're not going to need it's possible you're not going to need the drugs as much or as in as high a dose. That's how that works.
Well, I know there were some from speaking to other pharmacists that there are some pharmaceuticals that were not meant to be a life forever take them. You take them for a short
Right.
amount of time and be
Right.
done.
Of course, well, you know, kids who have acne, I don't know if it still happens. I haven't practiced pharmacy really as a pill pusher for many years, but for many years, when you had acne, you got an antibiotic, and you would stay on that antibiotic through your entire teenagerhood. Well, pharmacy 101 is you never stay on an antibiotic for more than a few weeks at a time because bacteria become resistant. But probably people on this call recognize that they were on tetracycline when they were a kid for their entire adolescence, which never is supposed to happen. And that's a classic example. But yes, you're absolutely right. People, prescribers tend to, or oftentimes will say, keep people on medication even past the point when they need it. And so if you're on a drug, and there are, by the way, and I know I've said it before, but I'll say it again, there are times you need a prescription drug, particularly pain pills and sometimes antibiotics, both of which have their own problems obviously associated with them. Nonetheless, antibiotics have saved many lives and pain pills have alleviated much suffering. And so I'm glad we have those. If you have a hypertensive crisis, you may need to have an emergency vasodilating drug to drop your blood pressure. That is all true. There are places for these things. However, for the most part, the kind of medication that we're taking chronically are best weaned off of as soon as possible. And until you wean off, get on a Healthy Start Pack. And for you distributors, tell your clients, your patients, or your clients to be, your potential clients, this is going to alleviate, yes, stay on your drug, fine, but this is going to alleviate any or help mitigate any problems that may be associated with it. It's a selling point if somebody's on a drug using nutritional supplementation and using something like the Healthy Start Pack or the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack or whatever it is. It's actually a selling point if they're on a drug because it'll help their drug work better and it'll make it easier for them to wean themselves off. And that's how you address, will this interfere with my medication? Will these nutrients interfere with my poisons? Which is what I hear every time somebody says that. And it sounds ridiculous when you put it that way, but that's how you think. So use that as a selling point. Use that as a reason to get on the Healthy Start Pack.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, let's go ahead and go right over into questions because I know we want to spend the most of this program on questions people are asking. So these questions are coming into us either through questions at dailywithdoc.com, through the coaching course, through direct email or text message coming to myself or any of our co-hosts. So Pharmacist Ben, the first one is coming from Bridget. She says, Bridget. She said, can you ask what is the first thing to try in order to deal with, she says, deal with rosacea? My friend has red cheeks. Should she work on the liver and gut? And what can she start with inexpensively?
From Longevity?
Yes.
Daily Digest, I-26, Ultimate Enzymes, Nightly Essence, Ultimate Microbiome. What do all those have in common?
Digestion.
Bingo. Rosacea is not a skin issue. And this is a very common phenomenon. We see things on the skin, understandably, we think skin issue. Understandably, we go to a skin specialist, a dermatologist or an esthetician typically. When you see redness on the skin, or you see redness anywhere, really, that's one of the ways that you can identify an immune reaction, defensive reaction. Vasodilation, that means blood vessels opening up, which is why you see redness, is a way the body sends immune cells to a particular area that needs to be protected against. It's a protective response. Vasodilation is one of the ways the body protects itself. Rosacea is a protective response because the blood is located underneath. You can pretty much assume that this protective response is secondary to something in the blood, which is itself secondary to something getting in the blood. How do things get in the blood? Well, yeah, they go in through the skin if you inject, but yes, absolutely, because that's how things are supposed to get into the blood. Anybody with rosacea, and this is what makes, it's crazy to me. Everybody with rosacea knows, there's anybody in this call with rosacea, and it's very common. Everybody who has rosacea knows certain foods trigger rosacea. But still, we have this idea, I'll take an antibiotic or I'll use, they have this theory, Demodex mites. I don't know if you ever heard of this. This is the theory in the skincare world among the uninitiated, people who don't understand chemistry or biochemistry. It's mites that cause the rosacea. No, it's not mites that cause the rosacea. You know, when you eat certain foods, you get rosacea. So obviously, it's not the mites that cause the rosacea. So a couple things with people who have rosacea. First of all, always look at SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, superstar, and not just for, for longevity reps, for anybody. This is a singular product. You're not going to find it in very many places. I-26, I can't really see that, but I-26. So that's first of all. Second of all, people who have rosacea tend to have a bacteria called H. pylori, which perhaps you've heard of. H. pylori's got a very interesting history behind it. It's a normal bacteria in the body, but it's not supposed to live in the stomach. People who have H. pylori, or people who have rosacea, tend to have H. pylori in the stomach. For many years, when I graduated pharmacy school, way back when, the number one best-selling drug, number 1 and 2 every year, or in the top 3 or 4, we'll say, top 5 best-selling drugs every year, 2 of them. And we used to count out hundreds of these pills a day. Zantac and Tagamet. Now, these days, I think they're over the counter, actually, because they're, relatively benign as far as drugs go. And doctors love this because then they can give a drug out and not have to worry about things. So benign drugs tend to be prescribed a lot. And Tagamet and Zantac were prescribed a lot. First, Tagamet came out. It was made by SmithKline and French. I don't even know if they exist anymore. SmithKline and French made a boatload of money selling Tagamet. And then Glaxo came out and they started selling Tagamet and they made a boatload of money. Why? Because so many people had stomach acid problems, except they had ulcers, stomach ulcers. Imagine if it's a number 1 and number 2 best-selling drug every year, or in the top 5 or so every year. You can imagine how many people have ulcers. That alone tells you there's something wrong here. In fact, babies were getting Zantac and Tagamet. Newborns, literal newborns. We'd have to make liquid Zantac and Tagamet for newborns, 1 day old. We'd have to make compound liquid Zantac and Tagamet for these kids. And so everybody knew these drugs work, they're antacids, basically. They work by suppressing acid. Interestingly, they're antihistamines, which tells you something, by the way, but that's a whole nother story. So these drugs, they suppressed acid, and everybody knew that that's what caused ulcers. And then there were these 2 doctors in Australia, and they said, wait a minute, we don't think it's acid that caused ulcers. We think it's this bacteria that might be involved, because they noticed that this bacteria was present all the time when people had ulcers. And the medical community just laughed at them, thought they were just crazy, outliers and wackadoodles. And we can all relate to this, right? Oh, who are these guys? We all know it's acid. So finally, these 2 doctors got so frustrated because they saw this bacteria was present all the time, and they were screaming and nobody was listening. So finally got so frustrated that they actually drank a cup of bacteria, a cup of H. pylori, glug, 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 a cup of it in the name of science. And sure enough, they got ulcers. And now today, finally, it's accepted that if you have ulcers, you got H. pylori, and now they give you antibiotics to kill the H. pylori, which is, of course, a whole nother problem. But at least they recognize now that it's this H. pylori bacteria that is the issue. Well, it turns out that rosacea patients oftentimes have H. pylori infections in the stomach as well. H. pylori thrives under conditions of low stomach acid, which tells you one of the ways that you can deal with rosacea is to improve stomach acidity. And we have a culture today where most people think they make too much stomach acid, and that's why antacids are the 2nd best-selling drug or 3rd best-selling drug, over-the-counter drug. Tums, you ever see that commercial where the pizza hits you, like your food is beating you up? It's not your fault, it's pizza. The pizza's hitting you, right? The pizza box. We have this idea we're innocent and it's the pizza's fault. It's not pizza's fault. And it's not too much acid. In fact, when I worked in nursing homes as a pharmacist, everybody in the nursing home is on taking antacids as if they're all making too much acid. It's along with aspirin and Tylenol, antacids are the most common drugs given to patients in nursing homes. As if you make too much of anything when you get older. You don't make everything shuts down when you get older, is suppressed. And heartburn and GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease, is not an acid problem. It's a sphincter problem, and the sphincter that becomes loose under conditions of low stomach acid. So most people have a problem with too little stomach acid, including rosacea patients, and that's why betaine HCl is such an important dietary nutritional supplement. Betaine, B-E-T-A-I-N-E, which is in the ultimate enzymes. So in addition to working with the intestine, food diary, elimination diet, work with SIBO, your I-26, ultimate microbiome, not the ultimate microbiome, the nightly essence. Also make sure you're using the ultimate enzymes if you have rosacea. There's nothing you could do topically for rosacea. If you go to a dermatologist, you're probably going to get an antibiotic, either oral antibiotic or topical antibiotic, because that's all they can do. They can't really do much else, but you're wasting your time. And you're making the problem worse because you're not really solving it where it needs to be solved.
Okay. So
that's for
if you got
rosacea. Treat it like a digestive problem. It's not a skin problem. No.
It's not a skin problem. All right, let's go right over to AJ with a question. AJ.
Pharmacist Ben, thanks for doing the show. And I have a couple of questions from viewers. One is Joy, who is on, and I'm going to ask Joy to unmute herself in a minute. The other one's from Patty. But before I do that, just real quick, and maybe we can address this on Monday.
Yes.
And by the way, I want to remind people, some of the things that you mentioned, if they were to go to rootnotfruit.com, they can identify some of the digestive things that you mentioned, and they can go back to whoever introduced them to this program and list those products to them, and they can be better for it. What do you think about that?
I think that's great. Root Not Fruit, and thank you for setting that up, AJ. You're a whiz on that. You're a whiz on those websites. They're really beautiful and well done. Thank you.
I hear that you're a whiz on them too.
I'm getting good at it. I'm getting better at it. I'm getting better at it. Thanks to you.
So okay. So my personal question is, how do we help people identify nutrition that might make their poisons work better? In other words, I'm leery sometimes of giving someone two kinds of essential fatty acids if they're on a blood thinner.
In other words, you don't want to cause too many. You don't want to cause make the medicine too strong. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that and then how does the conversation go as they improve?
Yeah. For most drugs, that's not a problem. Blood thinners are an issue. And the reason is because probably the most tightly controlled, tightly regulated biochemical process in the body is blood viscosity. The blood, and I know we've said this before, but the blood is a very, 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 very important system, organ, tissue. It's all of those things. It's a system, it's an organ, it's a tissue, however you want to look at it. And how thick and how thin it is super controlled. There are multiple steps involved in the blood clotting process. Whenever the body has multiple steps, that tells you it really takes the process very seriously. It doesn't want this to happen accidentally or spontaneously. In other words, it's very, 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 very regulated. Right? Are you with me so far?
Of course.
Okay. That tells you that a prescription drug that overrides that system is going to be very powerful. It also tells, because it has to override all of these multiple steps, it has to completely supersede all of these different steps that take place in order for the clotting process to occur. Body wants this clotting process to occur carefully, under great control and great regulation. In order for us to override that process, we've got to have a massively powerful drug. That's first of all. That makes blood thinners incredibly powerful. The most well-known blood thinner until maybe 20 years ago was called warfarin or Coumadin. And warfarin was known as being a very deadly drug. If you were on Coumadin or warfarin, the generic name is warfarin, you'd have to have your blood tested regularly to make sure that you don't have too much. Then they came out with the biologics. Now, I think did we talk about the biologics on Daily with Doc, or did we talk about it on the other program? The biologics, that they make them sound like it's really biological. They basically interfere with the inflammatory molecules in the body. When you have an infection, real quick, I don't want to digress too much, but when you have an infection, the immune system will secrete blood cells, or will produce blood cells, and those blood cells will make what are called antibodies. Antibodies, and like the name says, are against certain bodies, specifically bacteria and pathogens, and they interfere somehow with the bacterial life cycle or life processes, so the bacteria dies. About 25 years ago, they figured out if we could get those antibodies, which are also called immune globulins, like IGs, you may have heard that term, IGs. If we can get those antibodies not to attack pathogens, but rather to attack the molecules of inflammation, they call them cytokines. You may have heard of terms like interleukins or tumor necrosis factor, for example. These are various molecules that are involved in the inflammatory process. Technically, the group is known as cytokines. Then we would reduce inflammation. Does that make sense? We're now taking these immune globulins, instead of attacking bacteria, they're attacking cytokines. Cytokines are the molecules of inflammation. No more inflammation. Bingo. That's great, right? The problem is you need inflammation. The inflammation is there because you're doing something wrong, or because something's broken, something's toxic in the body. You don't just shut it down. On top of which, these things are incredibly expensive. So in any case, the point that you're saying, I didn't want to digress there, but the point that you're making is, how do you know when not take too much? Use blood clotting as an example. You don't, which is why you start off, when it comes to a toxic drug like blood thinners, with your physician, and you tell your physician what you're doing so he can monitor you. You don't ask him. You don't ask his permission. You tell him, this is what I want to do. Because essential fatty acids not only thin the blood, they're also important for cognitive health, for brain health. They're also important for joint health. They're also important for hormone health. They're also important for skin health. They're also important for leaky gut. They're important for a whole bunch of things. So you need them. There's nothing, the blood clotting, the blood thinning medicine, that's important for blood thinning, but that's it. The EFAs, you need much more, you need for many more functions. However, with blood thinning medicine, that's important stuff because you don't want to clot. They give you blood thinners typically when your heart's not working right, and your blood is kind of stagnant and slow, and then it tends to clot, and you don't want to clot. That's absolutely correct. And so when the doctors put you on blood thinning medicine, they're saving your life. So what you want to do with that, in that particular case, is a little bit of an outlier, a little bit of an extreme example, because that's so serious. You work with your physician on that, and you tell your physician, I want to take EFAs. I want to use my EFAs. And also, by the way, there's other nutrients that act as blood thinners. Vitamin E acts as a natural blood thinner. Phospholipids can have blood thinning effects. Oxygen, breathing has blood thinning effects. There's a lot of ways you can thin the blood. You tell your doctor. What's that? Fucoidin, absolutely, yes. There's a lot of ways you can thin the blood. Glucogel caps, so digestive enzymes, ultimate enzymes, nattokinase. There's a bunch of ways. So you work with all these ways, and you tell your doctor, this is what I'm doing, and he'll dial the dose down on your blood thinning medicine. Most medications don't have that kind of, and they're not going to have that kind of impact. So that's a little bit of an outside case. But say you're on a beta blocker for your heart, take magnesium, vitamin C, take the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack. Forget it. Don't even take specific nutrients. Take the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack, and tell your doctor what you're doing so you can lower your beta blocker. You understand what I'm saying? Work with your physician. Don't ask him. Tell him, this is what I want to do. I want to work with you. We'll control the dose on the medication. We'll modify the dose on the medication as the impact of our nutrients kick in.
All right, I got more questions on that. I'll ask on Monday. Joy, are you unmuted?
Yes, I am.
All
Thank
right,
you
Joy.
for having me.
Hi, Joy. Where are you? Do we see Joy?
Hi, Ben.
Hi, Joy. I love your name.
Thank you.
I love names that remind you to be something really good, like joyful. So thank you, Joy.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, AJ.
Yes. Talk to us.
So I guess so. Basically, I was diagnosed with RA many, many years ago.
Okay.
I'm in my early 50s
Okay.
and
How old were you when you were diagnosed? Like in your 20s?
20s, yes. And then I
Wow.
was diagnosed with severe depression at 14.
Okay.
So I am on antidepressants.
Okay.
And then, so recently with a cancer diagnosis, they took me off the biologics because I had the biologics with the methotrexate.
Wait a minute, the cancer diagnosis you said?
Yeah, I had a cancer diagnosis 3 years ago.
Okay, so that's in addition to the rheumatoid arthritis.
Correct.
So you
Correct.
had you were depressed, rheumatoid arthritis, and then cancer cancer diagnosis a few years ago.
Right. But the
Okay.
cancer, thanks to a lot of the nutrition and everything, that's at a low risk right now. Plus, I
Well,
had
say
a
that
full,
again. You're at low risk for. I didn't quite understand that. Say that again.
so with the nutritional changes that I've been working with,
Yeah.
the risk has been reduced. Plus, I had a full
What do you
hysterectomy,
mean by risk? You have cancer, or you're preventing cancer? You're
preventing cancer.
So what do you mean by risk? What's the risk you're talking about? The risk of
So,
getting worse?
yes, or
Okay.
spreading.
Okay. I see. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so
Yeah.
you reduce the risk of metastases.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
got it.
Yes.
Okay.
And they've been monitoring it, and because it's uterine and endometrial, I had a full hysterectomy, so that risk is pretty much
You don't have
theoretical.
it? Okay, gotcha. So
Theoretical, yeah.
okay, gotcha. So what else? What's your question?
So the question is, to address the cancer risk, they took me off the biologics and they put me on rituximab.
That's
And
a biologic.
okay, but it's
You go ahead. I'm
it's
sorry.
an infusion. And so
Okay.
they gave me, and because, I'm also 5'3" female, I'm not a very big person. They put me on the same dosage as somebody who's, a man who's 6'4" and like 200 pounds plus, a
Okay.
linebacker.
They put you on a high dose of the Rituxan. Is that what you're saying?
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
Okay.
And, we don't know in terms of the course going forward, what the options are with the methotrexate combination that
Wait a
I've been,
minute. You're on methotrexate and Rituxan?
correct.
Is that the only two drugs you're on?
Zoloft.
Okay. Only three drugs.
And the exemestane.
Okay. Only four drugs you're
Yes.
on. Okay. So you got the antidepressant, you got the Rituxan, you got the
Mhm.
methotrexate. And what was
Mhm.
the other one you said?
The aromacin,
And that's for the cancer.
that's for the cancer. Yeah.
Okay. So are you asking me what kind of program you could be put on? What are you exactly you're asking me?
So basically, what are the options? Because I'm already
From a nutritional standpoint?
correct.
Okay. So in order to understand the options from a nutritional standpoint, you got to understand what you went through. And before I tell you what you went through, we walk through what you went through. I'm not going to tell you what you went through because but let's walk through the logic of it all.
Sure.
You should know that you're not unusual. This is not atypical.
Okay.
The way this progresses is relative. It's not common exactly, but there's similarities to most progressive health problems. This is a progressive issue. It started when you were a little kid, and it just kept going and going. And because nobody solved the problem, I want everybody to hear this. Because nobody solved the problem, because we don't solve problems in medicine. Let me say it again. We don't solve problems in medicine. Let me say it a third time. We don't solve problems in medicine. Do you guys understand this? And poor Joy is a living testimony to the fact that we don't solve problems in medicine. And I want a doctor to come on the phone. I hate that I can't say this to a physician. I have to say it to the people, you guys, because you know this. We don't solve problems in medicine. So what kept happening to Joy is they kept trying to jury rig, i.e., doctor the problem away. And it kept getting worse and worse and worse. And now Joy has cancer. And now we're trying to you already had your organs taken out, so it's a little bit difficult, but we can still work with it. Do you understand what I'm saying here, Joy?
Yes, I do. I
You
do.
understand that we don't solve problems in medicine. We hide problems.
Correct.
We pretend. We doctor problems. We fake. We fraud problems. So, Joy, you started at the age of 14,
Right.
and then you went into RA. RA is a classic intestinal problem. Classic. Now, if you were depressed at 14 but diagnosed at 20, I would suspect that the odds were good you had digestive problems your whole life, starting with infancy. Do you
Sure.
sound familiar?
Yep.
Bloating, gas. I'm not psychic. This is just how it progresses. And depression and the intestines, called the gut-brain axis, are intimately connected. So your depression could have very well been related to intestinal health issues. Nobody solved that problem. So then all of a sudden you got RA, which is another intestinal problem. Nobody solved that problem. So now you've got an intestinal problem leading to leaky gut, leading to all kinds of toxicity in the bloodstream. Well, then, of course, you're going to have menstrual problems and female health problems, which you guaranteed had problems with your menstrual cycle. 100%. Guaranteed. Guaranteed had bloat, dysmenorrhea, and all kinds of female health issues. Correct?
Yep.
I'm not psychic. This is how it happens. So, again, because you got doctored, instead of working on the problem, they took your organs out. And now you're dealing with cancer.
Yes.
And they're doctoring you some more. Okay, now, Joy, you can't put your organs back in, so we got to work with what we can work with. But everybody listening, listen to this. Listen to what happens when you get doctored. Don't let it happen to you. The body breaks down in this logical way. It's not like things get sprinkled on your head and all of a sudden you get RA, rheumatoid arthritis. Okay, so Joy, immediately, today, you got to start patching up your leaky gut issue. You understand what I'm saying? Today, call AJ today or whoever has got you on the call. Have you worked with us before? Are you in longevity?
He works with Victor.
With who?
Victor, our buddy Victor.
Okay, so you're in longevity, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Do a food diet, everything we talk about. And I know we talk about it all the time. Sometimes I feel a little silly talking about it all the time because we talk about it all the time. And I can only imagine people rolling their eyes because we talk about it all the time, but you got to, because that's how it all happens. So you got to start patching up your gut immediately. And that means food diary, eliminating problem foods. And when I say eliminating problem foods, go by your problem foods, not lists, not what you think is good or bad, or not what somebody told you is good or bad, for you. And that's why food diaries. And you're going to want to eliminate anything that causes a digestive problem. You may find that at this point, there's lots of things that cause digestive problems. So it's going to be tricky for you. Stick to, as best as you can, dense soups and juices, juices, liquids, to relieve the load on the digestive system. Make sense?
Yep.
You would think, I said, as best as you can. Nutrient density, low calorie. It's really for everybody, but especially for you. Nutrient density, low calorie. You may have a problem processing your fats as well. So I would be using essential fat, ultimate EFAs with your meals and ultimate enzymes. Make sure that you're using with your meals and ultimate enzymes. I'd also be using the FucoidZ for multiple reasons. And of course, the Healthy Start Pack, that goes without saying. If you find that you have that you're bloating after specific foods, particularly fibery foods, mushy foods, things like apricots, dried fruits, pears, okra, eggplant. If you find that you bloat after those, that's a sign that you have SIBO, which more than likely you have. So get on the I-26 as well. And understand that when you have an intestinal problem, you got two issues. Even though leaky gut is, what we talk about all the time, you're also going to be dealing with malabsorption, which means you're going to be functionally nutritionally deficient, functionally starving, really. So you want to make sure that you're getting on either the Healthy Start Pack. I would get on the Healthy Start Pack and use the Beyond Tangy, to have Victor teach. I imagine Victor probably knows how to use the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. If not, have him contact us and make sure you're using the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. As much liquid nutrition as possible and as low calorie as possible. Calories are not your friend, nutrients are. So low calorie, maximum nutrition, focus on fats, elimination diet, and eliminate problem foods and work on digestive health. That's the whole sequence of nutritional protocols that you want to follow. The good news is you're going to start to feel a lot better. And I don't know if you still have symptoms of RA, but those are going to subside as well if you still do. And also know that when you have one autoimmune disease, you're on the road to lots of autoimmune diseases. So if you have RA, you're on the road to other autoimmunity, but this will reduce the likelihood of that occurring and will also reduce the risk of metastases. If you want to throw one more thing in, get on the Restart Your Life products. And those can help with support your immune system for the cancer. And none of these will interfere with your drugs, by the way, except they may make your drugs work better. Okay?
Sounds good. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joy.
All right, Pharmacist Ben, you mentioned juices. Are you referring, because I know you say stay away from fruit juices. Are
Yes,
you referring
never,
more towards
no,
vegetable
absolutely.
juices?
Vegetable juices, but keep in mind, some people react to vegetables. Fruit juices, yes, you want to be careful. You do want to be careful with fruit juices because fruit juices give you a big jolt of sugar, fructose, right into the bloodstream. There are good things in fruits, obviously, but it's in the whole fruits and mostly in the small fruits. We call the peel. You want a high peel to pulp ratio. Peel meaning lots of peel relative to pulp, and the fruits that have the highest peel to pulp ratio are the small ones, the berries. So those are the best ones, and make sure they're organic because berries will suck up pesticides really fast. So make sure it's organic, even though that's not always, you're not out of the woods with organic either these days, but at least it's better.
Okay, thank you so much, Pharmacist Ben. Let's go to the next hand that is up. And Marilyn.
I've been married for a long time.
We
And
talked
anyway,
about,
though,
go ahead.
if she has it and they keep her ovaries, what will happen? What does the hysterectomy cause? Will it cause her some other hormonal balance, even if she's
It'll
keeping
completely throw off her hormones.
It will
Completely
Still.
whack out her hormone system. And what they'll do, because they doctor, they'll give her hormones, pharmaceutical hormones, which are among the most toxic drugs in the pharmacopoeia, are the toxic hormones. So look, if she wants to do it, she wants to do it. That's her business. I don't ever tell anybody what to do. And nobody should tell anybody what to do. And the hardest thing parents and children have to do, or anybody has to do, is watch their loved ones, get their organs taken out. But that's their business. And I don't ever tell anybody what to do. But nonetheless, having your female organs removed, whether it's your uterus and your ovaries and hysterectomy or breast removed, unless you have cancer, and that's obviously different, you want to keep your organs. Fibroids are a sign that insulin is off and estrogen's off. And if your insulin's off and your estrogen's off, that's not a reason to to have a hysterectomy, because now you're going to make things even worse. Do you ever read that Cat in the Hat book where they try to get rid of the red spot in the snow? The Cat in the Hat comes back.
No, but I read a lot of Cat in the Hat books.
Read the Cat in the Hat comes back. Little cat A and little cat B and little cat C. You know what I'm talking about, Becca or Ruth Ellen? The red spot. And every time they get a little cat, they get rid of the red spot. It makes the red spot worse, or the red spot goes in another place until finally, at the end, there's little cat Z who just explodes the whole place.
No,
that's the medical model.
That's so cute. Say, I heard that horseradish helps against H. pylori. Is that true?
Yeah, all bitters will stimulate stomach acid. Yeah, all bitters will. And that's why one of the reasons why it's a good idea to do bitters before you eat. Swedish bitters or dandelion or parsley or horseradish, that kind of stuff, that stimulates digestive juices, and that will help suppress H. pylori.
Okay. And then, I've heard people say if you have ever had an antibiotic or even an analgesic, it reduces two bacteria, L. reuteri and L. gasseri, and that you have to reintroduce them into the body.
Not just those. That's what we talked about earlier. Not just those two bacteria. Those two bacteria are not particularly susceptible. And there's hundreds of different bacteria. And everybody has their own bacterial signature, in the sense that the exact proportions and ratios of the hundreds of different bacteria are unique to every human being. And in fact, in the future, when, these days they have DNA analysis, when you commit a crime, in the future, they'll look for the bacteria that are left over. And they'll be able to identify people by their bacterial signature. Every human being has a unique bacterial signature. And by the way, that unique bacterial signature is all over. It's a cloud all over. It's not just inside us. We're walking around in our own unique bacterial cloud as we walk around, and that bacterial cloud is communicating to other bacterial clouds. So
when we take microbiome, will that reestablish everything in our particular microbiome? Everything?
There's no way to know. And probiotics are the trickiest of all the supplements, because there's no way to know the dose exactly. There's no way to know the dose on any given day exactly. There's no way to know the dose after any given meal exactly. There's no way to know the dose at any particular time in your life exactly, based on your particular circumstances exactly. They're very tricky. So you got to play around with them a little bit. I'm just going to say this real quick. They're living creatures, probiotics, or formerly living creatures. They're not like vitamins. They're not like minerals. That's why we don't consider them part of the Mighty 90. They're a whole separate category of nutrients. And because they're alive or formerly alive, they're very, very tricky to work with. So and there's no standardization the way they are with the way other nutritional supplements are standardized in a certain way. So we don't really know with probiotics. They're working on trying to get them standardized and have them certified a certain way, but they're very, very tricky to know exactly. And the best way to use them is to see how you feel and dose yourself based on that. Yes, I'm
So
sorry. Go ahead.
someone they're saying, okay, I got to take 500 billion and I want to take, a higher dosage and higher dosage. I mean, does the higher?
Not necessarily. No, not necessarily. Yeah. Not necessarily. Yeah, you gotta play around with them. And sometimes people will take probiotics and they'll say they feel worse. Have you ever heard people say that?
Yes.
I took probiotics. Well, remember, if you have SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and now you pile on bacteria, you can make the problem worse. So probiotics are their own category of nutritional supplements. They don't fit in with, there you go, AJ, I-26, exactly. So if you have SIBO, use your I-26 first.
Okay, one other thing. They have some refrigerated, and then there's just like, longevity.
Exactly. Because sometimes go by the directions. Because some probiotics are actually not alive. Some are. The ones you have to refrigerate tend to be alive. The ones that aren't are not alive. That doesn't mean they don't work because they're not alive. They still have effects. But the ones that are alive, you have to keep in the fridge, and that's why you want to go by the directions.
But there's no one better. The live is not better than the powder, dead.
No, there's no way to know. And there's no uniform regulatory body that assesses these things when it comes to probiotics. It's still the great unknown. We've only really known about the importance of probiotics specifically in kind of a conventional way for the last 30 years or so. Everybody's known. We discovered them 150 years ago, or 130 years ago or so. They knew that there were things in fermented foods that could make you feel better. But it's only been the last 30 years or so that they became big in the nutritional supplement world, and it's still the great unknown.
Wow. Fantastic. Thank you. Appreciate that.
All right. Great question. Thank you so much, Marilyn. Now, Pharmacist Ben, we've got a question coming in wanting to know about collagen, and you being
I love that
person
stuff.
that you are.
Yes.
The question is, when is the best time to take it?
With food,
morning,
with your
noon,
meals.
or night, and with food.
With food, it doesn't really matter morning, noon, or night, but with food, with your meals is the best way to take your collagen. To any protein, any amino acid will be best utilized on it when you have your digestive juices going and your enzymes and all your the digestive machinery is prepared to absorb nutrients. So collagen, and I imagine they mean hydrolyzed collagen or collagen peptides. Likewise, collagen also, if it's full collagen, which I doubt they're talking about, you need to break it down, so you need the enzymes. Yeah, collagen peptides. Yeah, with your meals.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. Let's go over to the next question. And Patty, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, thank you
Hello.
for taking my question.
Yes.
Hi, Ben.
Hi.
So my question is, if you can explain, because I know you're the skin specialist. So my
Yes.
husband I can't pronounce I sent it to AJ, and I'm driving, but I can't pronounce the.
AJ, do you know what it is, AJ?
My husband had a biopsy.
Say again?
Squamous carcinoma.
Squamous cell carcinoma?
Yes.
Okay. Is that what it is, Patty?
Yes.
Okay, it's skin
So
cancer.
he had a biopsy on his head, and it came back as that.
Okay, is he bald? Is he bald?
Just thinning, but not bald.
Okay. Is he out in the sun a lot?
Oh yeah, a lot of sun exposure from construction.
Okay.
And now, so they told him he had to get surgery.
Okay.
So he kind of got busy, didn't go back, and now he went back because he had a growth on his cheek. They biopsied that yesterday, and he has they said that it might be that same or worse of diagnosis. Okay. So I just wanted to hear from your experience what I can show this to my husband.
A couple things. First of all,
told him that he does not care about himself, and so I did not like that.
Wait a minute. Say that again.
The dermatologist told him that that she was very disappointed, and that he does not.
She was disappointed. Oh,
Yeah,
mommy was
so that
disappointed. Mommy was disappointed. Oh, so listen, she has a point, by the way.
okay.
Squamous cell carcinoma is not to be trifled with. You don't want to fool around with that. And don't you think it's interesting how he had squamous cell carcinoma on his head and then he had it on his cheek when he didn't correct it? So what does that tell us? If he had it on his head and he didn't correct it and now he has it on his cheek, what is he telling? What is this telling us? There's a message there. The message
One more
is-
thing.
Oh yeah, go
Sorry
ahead.
to interrupt.
Yeah.
So previously throughout the years, he gets stuff on his cheeks and he goes and they burn it off.
Okay,
So
those are
this
probably
stuff,
were they carcinomas also? Did they tell you benign cancer, skin
but I
cancer or
don't
something like
recall.
that? Okay, all right, fair
I
enough.
don't recall.
Okay.
I just know they would freeze it.
But I want everybody to think about this here, including you, by the way, Patty, and your husband. You can tell him you had it on your head and now you have it on your cheek. You have it on your head, you didn't correct it. Now you have it on your cheek. What's that telling us? It's telling us it's a systemic problem. It's not a local. Local means it's just localized to one area. Systemic means it's the whole system. You see what I'm saying here, Patty? He doesn't have a local problem. He has a system problem. And this is how we have to look at skin cancer, because our immediate predisposition is to say this is a skin problem. It's just on my head. It's just on my cheek. It's just on my finger. It's just on my foot, wherever it is. I'm telling you, skin cancer is a sign that the system is disturbed. The entire system. It's not a dermatology problem. It's an immune problem. You follow me? Are you with me?
Yes, I'm driving, so I've muted
Okay.
it so you don't hear the
That's
background
fine.
noise.
That's fine. But I want you to see that he has a system problem. Now, it's important that he addresses it locally, the squamous cell carcinoma, because you don't want it to spread and risks. If you catch it early, it's treatable. But once it starts to grow, if it gets big or if it's invasive or it's in thinner skin areas like the lips or the ears, you could run into some serious problems and get into the lymph, and it could be very, very serious. So it's not to be trifled with. In fact, no cancer is, but basal cell or squamous cell is way more significant than basal cell. So this is a significant problem. Now he needs to have it addressed dermatologically to get rid of it, just actually yank it off before it spreads. But he has a system-wide problem. Now, you haven't mentioned it, you may not know, and he may not know, but there's likely other things going on, Patty. And you don't absolutely need to know them, but if you had other things going on, we could sort of form a picture of what's happening in his body. Nonetheless, we're going to assume we don't know those things. You want to treat him with what we call the triangle of disease, which are the 3 points of bodily breakdown, or, we've reduced it to the 2 points, the plane of disease, that underlie all health issues, including cancers. And that's digestive and metabolic, food and blood sugar. And by blood sugar, I'm talking about insulin as well. And those are where you want to work for his squamous cell carcinoma. As far as the cancer itself, that needs to be taken out immediately. Immediately. You do not want that to spread. But then you want to start doing everything you could do to correct any metabolic issues, immune issues, inflammatory issues, which are most certainly going on inside his body. How old is he? Patty? I don't know if we have Patty.
All right,
Okay,
one more time, Patty.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. How old
you
is
hear me?
Pat? How old is your husband?
He's 49.
Okay, he's a young man. Good news, bad news. He's a young man. He could really make a world of difference by fixing himself. Bad news is he's down a very bad road. And you should really emphasize that to him. This is not a game. This is not a toy. This is serious. This is life-threatening. Not immediately life-threatening, I don't mean to say, but it's heading to a life-threatening place. And if he doesn't correct it, it could be.
I feel bad because I was kind of against the removal of the one in his head. So it's kind of, I was kind of part of that.
Okay, well, now you know. Now you know. Do not play around with squamous cell carcinoma. But it's not a skin problem. That's what I want to emphasize. And it's not going to, they'll remove it, and that's great, and they need to remove it, but it's not going to solve the problem. Do you follow what I'm saying? You can, if you have an apple on the tree that's rotten, you take it off, you can get rid of the apple for sure, and you should, but you're going to have another rotten apple somewhere. He's on the road to other things, not necessarily cancers, but other things. And I have to ask him what else is going on, but he's got a systemic issue. You know what I mean when I say systemic? It's like his whole body. There's something going on inside his body.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Patty.
Okay. So another thing they said, once he does that, they want him to have the chemo cream on his face. Do you
I
think that's
can't,
a
the
good idea
chemo cream.
to,
All right, so let me tell you about the chemo cream. It's nasty, nasty stuff. 5-fluorouracil. Yes, they tell you 5-FU, or they mention what it was? Okay, I don't know what they,
I
I
don't
can't.
know. I just know that he
Okay,
has to put it in his entire face.
okay, yeah,
after they
it's a
do surgery.
nasty, nasty cream. I would ask them about retinol. And anybody out there who's worried about skin cancer, retinol, which most people know, certainly most women know these days, is an anti-aging product, is also protective against skin cancer. So ask them about retinol. Okay.
So
Instead
as
of
far
5.
as the truth,
Truth
thank you so
retinol.
much. The truth. I
Yeah,
have so many things. I just want to go quick. I don't want to take your time, but
no
the
worries.
omega
The
from your
omega will help.
line,
Yeah,
how
omega
would
6
that help?
omega 6 healing cream will help after he has the it will help accelerate healing after he has the surgery, or after he removes the cancer. Omega 6 will help with the healing. Retinol is used as a protective, or 5-FU is what the drug is, or retinol if you don't want to go the drug route. Those are used as protective mechanisms, anti-cancer.
Okay.
But the omega 6 healing cream will speed the healing after the wound. He'll have a wound after they take out the cancer.
So is it a good idea if you start to get a little rash on your face to use either Trinity lotion or your omega or the
No,
retinol?
not a rash, not for a rash necessarily. Omega maybe will help. No, I wouldn't use retinol after rash, but omega might help. But rashes are an immune reaction. So you're not going to, you really want to address the immune problem. Omega 6 healing cream can soothe for sure, but it doesn't necessarily, it may get rid of the rash depending on how severe it is, but really rashes are a sign of an immune reaction. Something's triggering the immune system.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ben.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Patty. Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Now, Pharmacist Ben, I have an additional question that goes along with Patty's situation. Can nutrition help a systematic
Yes,
issue?
absolutely. 100%. A systemic.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. 100%. 100%. That's why I said the triangle, the first 2 points in the triangle. Obviously, everybody gets the Healthy Start Pack. Everybody should be on the Healthy Start Pack. That's the basics. Then we work with the triangle. We work with the digestive system. And again, if you understand the philosophy of the triangle of disease, you know that everything, cancer and rheumatoid arthritis or autoimmune diseases or female health issues, they all have a foundation of breakdown at the level of the digestive system and the metabolic system. And then the third point, which we don't talk about as much, which is the adrenal thyroid complex, or the HPA thyroid axis is the technical name. I'm sorry, the adrenal HPA axis. Or HPA thyroid. HPA thyroid axis. I'm sorry.
All right. So folks, if you've got a systemic issue, you need nutrition. 100%.
Yes, everybody Healthy Start Pack. All right. Well,
do you have a hard stop?
I do have a hard stop, but we'll be back Monday with more good health
All
information on the Pharmacist Ben Bright Bites, right, AJ?
That's close. Yeah, that's close. 9 p.m. Same
9
bad
p.m.
time, same bad
Eastern.
channel.
Same bad time, same bad channel. All right. Bye,
All right.
Mary
Thank you so
and
much,
AJ and
Pharmacist
Ruth
Ben.
Ellen, and bye, everybody.
All right. Bye for now. And if I could get the co-hosts up on the screen with me, that'd be absolutely fantastic, as I'm so thankful that I do not have to do this all by myself. Folks, nutrition, it can do the body good. And if you are not on a complete program, because taking a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this, that's not a complete program. You need the whole 90 essential nutrients. Not just you, your body. So I guess that's you too, but 90 essential nutrients. So get back with the person that shared this program with you. And if there is no one to thank, give us a call at 855-949-3377. Again, 855-949-3377. Or rootnotfruit.com will get you Pharmacist Ben's website that goes through his steps to creating better health. But we want to make sure that you get back with the person that shared this program with you. That is for informational purposes only if you're already working with somebody. So I am so thankful that I have on with us today Marilyn, who is doing just such a beautiful job as she's putting information into the chat. Speedy fingers, plus she's adding additional information for explanations on and descriptions, and she's just brilliant. And I am so thankful she is part of our team. Thank you so much, Marilyn. And we also have Ruth Ellen, as she is my executive production manager and making sure that everything is running smoothly, even with change. So folks, if you're here live with us, and I'm so excited, we had so many people with the change that we implemented yesterday. Well done, well done. And if you would like to join us in the future, register at zoom.dailywithdoc.com. Again, get registered, zoom.dailywithdoc.com. We confirm that you are a real good-hearted person before you can come on this program to make sure that we have a safe environment for everybody. We also have on live with us today Coach Rod, who is keeping an eye on things, helping to let people in and watching the different platforms for questions. Thank you so much, Coach Rod, for being here. We have Mary, who is doing much of the same and letting people in, bringing in questions, putting the questions into our special little message thing so that I can ask them. Thank you so much, Mary, for all that you are doing. And we have AJ with his hand up, as we want to make sure that you know we have two programs, kind of an offsprout, an offshoot of the Daily with Doc is Pharmacist Ben Bites with Coach AJ and Pharmacist Ben Mondays. So you want to make sure that you go to dailywithdoc.com, get signed up for our email list so that you get notified when dailywithdoc.com comes on, what our program's about, and information about a past program and the Pharmacist Ben Bites. So AJ is our executive marketing manager. That's what I'm going to call him. So thank you, AJ, as he is very instrumental in making sure that we get the information out onto all the different platforms where everybody finds us. So if you found us somewhere other than live here on Zoom, let us know that you're there. Say hello. And if you have questions, email questions@dailywithdoc.com. Ruth Ellen.
AJ is our digital marketing extraordinaire. That's what he is. Digital marketing manager extraordinaire.
Okay, so how about too many things that AJ does? We can't give him just one title.
It's a lot. He does a lot.
But he doesn't want anybody to know. So thank you, everybody, for joining us here on Daily with Doc. My name is Becca Dukes, as a certified holistic health coach, certified naturopathic practitioner, and also the director of student services for the Institute of Holistic Health. There is room at our table for you. So if you have an interest in health and wellness and helping others find a better health journey, make sure that you go to coachwithiwh.com. That's coachwithiwh.com. Get more information about our health coaching course and how you can be more involved and on the team as well. So until next time, bye for now.
This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We're honored to continue and share the teachings of the founding father of science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We're honored to continue and share the teachings of the founding father of science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach.